Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Venture Fuel Visionaries podcast. I am your host, Fred Schonenberg. I am so excited to welcome Catherine Gray today. Catherine is a producer, a keynote speaker, an author, and the founder of She Angel Investors. She's dedicated her career to empowering female entrepreneurs, as well as addressing the underfunding of women in venture capital, something very near and dear to my heart as sort of the co-founder of the Rogue Women's event series. And I think I've shared before on the podcast, my mom is sort of my inspiration in the world. And she was an entrepreneur and went through a lot of the things we'll talk about today. Today, we're going to talk about a few different items. One, Catherine's documentary, Show Her the Money, as well as her TED Talk, Fun Women Save the World, and also She Angel Investors. And we're going to talk about Catherine's vision for the future of gender diversity and inclusion in the venture capital landscape. I couldn't be more excited to welcome her. Please join me in welcoming Catherine Gray to the podcast. Catherine, it's so nice to meet you.
Thank you, Fred. What a nice introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
When I got your background, we started doing the research. I'm like, I want to dive in on so many different things. So I'm going to try and keep us somewhat focused. But I was saying before we hit record that I started getting emails during the Women's Venture Summit from a client of mine, from my team, being like, we have to get Catherine on the podcast. She's unbelievable. So I'm glad we were able to rope you into this.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Love what you're doing. And there's a great synergy here.
So can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to She Angel Investors and the film, just to kind of level set the audience?
Sure. Well, I used to work in corporate America and had a really successful career in cable television advertising. And around the time I turned 40, don't ask when that was, a couple of years ago, I just had an opportunity to leave and help start a gay cable network. And it was then that I decided, you know what, I really want to spend the rest of my life doing things that really make a difference. I feel like a calling to do that. And so initially, I was very focused on helping the LGBTQ community. I did another documentary called I Can't Marry You. And this was, of course, before we could have same-sex marriage. And so I'm a big believer that it's film and television that helps change culture. So when I saw that there was a need for us to have that in order for young LGBTQ kids to grow up feeling normal, feeling like they had something to look forward to, I've thought that was a film that needed to be made. So a few years ago, when I started working on events for women, conferences, started a pitch fest because I found out women were so underfunded. Yeah. I felt a little pivot in what I felt a calling to do. And so that was that I wanted to do events and films and projects that would help bring light to the fact that women are so underfunded. So when this came to my attention, I started to mention it to people. Hey, did you know that women only get 2% of venture capital?
Yeah.
And I was so surprised, men and women, very accomplished people, had no idea. In fact, it seemed to me that most had no idea what venture capital even was, including myself at the time. So after really learning about it and understanding how important it is to the planet, to the future, to our just our culture at large, that this is something we had to address. So thinking that it's film and television that really changes culture, decided to make this movie. That's the most recent thing that I have done as a co-producer on this. So it is called Show Her the Money. And Show Her the Money is a storytelling, engaging approach to helping people understand what venture capital is and how exciting and how fascinating it is, why they would want to be a part of it, and how important it is that they are to our future. And so I think what people are loving about the movie is that they didn't know what venture capital was. They didn't realize how actually easy it is to understand, and they want to get involved either as an investor or as an entrepreneur looking for funding. So it's been very exciting to take it around the country. We're on a 50-city tour and trying to change this. I do believe it's going to take a grassroots campaign of engaging people to actually move that 2% needle. But women getting 2% is just unacceptable, right?
Yeah, it's so funny. The first time I heard that number, I thought I misheard it. I was
Right.
like, what, 20%? No, 2%. I was like, that, why? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And
Yeah.
it's funny. I kind of went through, I had a very transformational moment. I mentioned my mom. She was a lawyer, and we moved from New York City down south. And she was an accomplished lawyer, and the law firms were trying to hire her as a paralegal, even though she had, superior education in many cases, superior track record. And they're like, well, women aren't lawyers. And I remember her being so shook by this. And then the next morning, sort of coming downstairs, and she had like a hop to her step. And I said, Mom, I was like 9. What's going on? And she goes, well, if they can't recognize what I'm going to do, I'm going to create my own firm. And, she went out and did the entrepreneurship journey. And I got to watch that as a kid. And I think it influenced my career tremendously. But so when I first heard that number, all I could think about was my mom. And I was like, wait a second, this is insane. Like, nobody worked harder. Nobody did the things. And I think, to your point of demystifying venture capital, both as an entrepreneur raising money, and then also as, hey, you can invest in startups, and you don't have to be wildly wealthy to do that. There's all different ways to do it. It's such a powerful way to change the narrative and get people to recognize the opportunity on all sides of this. So I love what you're doing. And would, I think I agree with you. My background was in advertising also.
Oh,
And I think that storytelling piece is what changes culture. So I love what
yes.
you're doing with that. Can you talk a little bit about why now for the film? I'm very interested in that because we've been trying to figure out, how do you move this number from 2%? And it seems
Right.
stuck there. So I'd love to know why now and what impact you hope the film has.
You know that old saying, if not now, when?
Yeah.
You know, I was kind of swimming in that world and looking at the situation, having made documentaries before, and thinking, wow, these women are so heads down, so working on raising their money that nobody's seeing there's a story here.
Yeah.
And it's a really important story that needs to be told. One of the things I say about our film, Show Her the Money, is that I'm trying to shed a light on these women who are starting their own funds more than ever in history. They are such rock stars, and they are the unsung heroes that nobody was talking about because nobody even knew what venture is, and they didn't know these women are out here raising 25, 50, $100 million. And most of them are really focused on investing in women and BIPOC and LGBTQ, all the underserved communities that are not getting funding. So, it takes women's funds, right, to actually, uh, give funding to these overlooked people. And so I was like, there's a story here and we need to tell it. And it's the only way we're going to move that 2%. Like you said, it has been sitting there forever.
Yeah.
And I just thought, what is it going to take to change it? And that's when I did the TED Talk that you had
Yeah.
mentioned. It's called Fund Women Save the World. And the bottom line is, people tend to invest in people that they identify with. And so if there's no women sitting at the table making the decisions, that's why they're not getting the funding they deserve. The good thing is that there's so many men out like you, Fred, that have come to our movie and said the exact same thing you're saying. They grew up with a single mom. They saw how she struggled. They have daughters. They don't want it to be the same for them. Like, a lot of men have important women in their lives, and we are opening their eyes up to the fact of this injustice. And they are up in arms as we are, many of them. This is a great thing. So the movie's doing what it's supposed to be doing, lighting a fire under women to educate them and inspire them to learn about venture capital. Women are very heart-centered, so you have to do it in a storytelling way, and that's what we do with the movie. The movie makes you laugh, makes you cry, makes you feel something about venture capital. Now, most people, would say venture capital, how boring is that? No, it's really exciting, and we tell it in a storytelling way, so you're going to love it. And so that's how we want the women to learn about it and to inspire men also to get behind women. We are going to move that needle. It's going to take women becoming investors too, and men getting behind us as well. We're hoping the grassroots movement of the 50 City Plus tour is what's going to ignite that change.
Yeah, it's so interesting as somebody that sits in the VC and in between corporates and entrepreneurs. To me, it's so obvious, right? The only way for entrepreneurship to work is you need unique viewpoints. You have to have a different way to attack a problem. What's working isn't working. Try something new. And so the fact that a vast majority of the investment goes to the same perspective is so mind-blowing to me. But I have one question for you. Are there any, and I'm sure there are many examples, but anything from the movie or the TED Talk, a story that really particularly resonated with you and think would be good to share on this?
Sure. I mean, I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but we had a full house at our Fort Lauderdale International Film Festival. And I remember a woman in the audience, entrepreneur, was seeking funding, and someone else in the audience that's actually affiliated with our film met them in the audience and ended up investing in them. So our screenings, the audiences are really being motivated to invest in funds mentioned in the film and otherwise. It really is motivating people to understand that they need to be putting a part of their portfolio into this sector in order to help change it. So it's doing what it's meant to be doing, and it's already generated millions in different capacities, but that's one story that I know of that I thought was really cool.
I love that. Can you also talk about, you're the founder of She Angel Investors as well. Can you share what that is?
Yeah, I just created that as a platform to umbrella everything that I'm doing. So I have a podcast as well called Invest in Her. We, have on women that are funding other women, and then women that are also seeking funding. I'm always trying to put the two together, and that's part of the platform. I just enjoy connecting people. So I have all these different platforms that I can connect people in different ways. We also do events, of course, the film, and have some e-courses. And then having built out the film platform, showherthemoneymovie.com under that as well. That movie page has a resources page because we want people to come to the movie and not feel like, okay, well, there's a problem, but I don't know what to do about it. So we have the live engagement at all of the in-person screenings, so they can do Q&A, they can meet actual people from the film and so forth. And then they can also, as a follow-up, go to our resources page on the site and be able to find everything from how to become an angel investor or an LP to, how to get funding, join a community, take e-courses, just every way that we can support them in their journey.
I love that. Is there one of the things that I've heard in this and other work is this just philanthropic? Is this a DEI effort in terms of, okay, we're going to take this out of a budget and put some money over there, or is this transformational? And the way I think about it is when Venture Fuel is working on a project, we go, it starts with a big corporate challenge they're trying to solve for X. and we go look at startups all around the world. And one of the things we've said is we want diversity in those startups, not because our client asked us, but because we think that is going to show us new and different approaches. So we can look at, okay, here's all the different ways to tackle it. And we think that there's tremendous value in that. But oftentimes when we say that to a client, they go, what? I don't know. Like, I have to solve this problem. I don't care who the founder is. And I'm curious your thought on this as, is it philanthropic investment, or is this really about returns at the end of the day, or both?
Oh, no, it's absolutely about returns. I just was on it with a very smart woman out of Israel who does research for the government there about this. And it was a real research results show you can do impact investing and make as much or more than just a regular investment. So impact investing can absolutely be super lucrative, and investing in women and BIPOC and LGBTQ. I mean, absolutely. It's such an untapped market because they haven't been investing in it. All that brain power of innovations and ideas that haven't been funded. But these women founded funds are seeing what an opportunity it is. And as they become very successful with those results, the men will follow because they don't want to leave all that money on the table. So a lot of money's been left on the table by not funding all of those sectors. So it's about to change, and it's going to be a very lucrative opportunity. Philanthropy is great. The problem with women is they're so easily to give to a charity, but you can make as much or more impact investing in women and BIPOC and LGBTQ innovative ideas that are doing things like, you know, curing cancer or helping the environment. It's just as important as giving to a charity, right? Obviously. Yeah. So, and you can make a tremendous amount of return on it. So why wouldn't you put a good part of your portfolio into impact investing when you're doing good and also making a profit?
I love it. I mean, I think I do a lot of work with Angeles investors, which is a Hispanic focused angel group. And I just look at it and I go, how is nobody seeing this, right? The huge arbitrage in terms of how many people in the United States identify as Hispanic, and then the sliver of money that's going into Hispanic founded startups. And it's like, it's just such an obvious play. So I agree with you. I think there is impact investing. You can have the philanthropic impact, but it's financial. So I couldn't agree more. What role do you think education and awareness plays in changing that 2%?
Oh, a tremendous. You're not going to invest in something you don't understand. So baked into our film, as much as you're engaged in the storytelling, and we have these fabulous women that we have cast in it, their stories are absolutely incredible. But baked into it is also helping you understand in such an easy to understand way what venture capital is. And so you walk out of there understanding clearly what it is, how simple it really is. Why has everybody made it so complicated? So it's very important that we educate people. We are also being contacted by a lot of universities. We're going to be screening it. We just screened at the Wharton School, Vanderbilt, upcoming USC, UCLA, many others. And we're being asked to put a curriculum with it because it is a kind of film that, yes, it's entertaining, but it's also inspirational and educational. And you're never too young to learn about it. We all say we all wish we knew what we know now in our 20s, right? Yeah. Even high schoolers. So we're putting together that curriculum with some of the finest minds of the universities that put curriculums together, who approached us and said, you know what? We have to show this film to our students and we need to add a curriculum to it. So it's very exciting for us.
I'd love that. And I would say there's also, for anybody that's listening, that's like, oh, maybe I could be an angel investor, or how could I get involved on that side, on the investment side? It's also so much fun. There is nothing more energizing than listening to founders pitch their ideas to change the world, whatever part of the world they're trying to go after. So I found angel investing as something I do on the side, and it is so invigorating and exciting, and gives you this hopeful outlook on the world, which I'm sure you've seen as part of the research as well as being involved in this ecosystem.
I tell people that all the time, Fred. I couldn't agree with you more. I said, it's so exciting being in this arena. I said, forget a book club, do this instead. It's so interesting to hear these brilliant women on a daily basis. I hear the most incredible ideas and innovations. So the perfect thing is you don't have to have the great ideas. You can just invest in people who do. And it is so fun to hear the ideas that they come up with. It's really just incredible.
How do you hope that this landscape is going to change in the next, 5 to 10 years, both from the venture capital side or in the entrepreneurship side, specifically with female founders?
I mean, I don't know how many years it'll take. I would like to see us getting at least the 50% that we should be getting in venture capital. It's, the good news is, as you and I know, women are coming into trillions of dollars in the coming decade. It's what are they going to do with it? It's why we're taking the film on a 50-city tour to educate them. Here's what you need to do with some of it. It needs to go into venture capital. We have to move that needle. Nobody's moving it for us. They haven't moved it for us in the past decades. Nobody's going to do this for us. We have to do this. And we're going to be in a financial position to do it. And that's the key. So yeah, I'd like to see it change significantly in the coming years, in the coming, 5 to 10 years. I hope to see it change significantly.
What was the most surprising thing to you that you learned making the film? Is there anything that jumped out where you came home and you said to your wife, "You won't believe this story"?
We added a story to the film that wasn't originally in it.
Hmm.
And I talked with the director, Kai Dickens, who's just an amazing director. And I said, this just unfolded. These people are incredible. The story is amazing. We need to include it.
Hmm.
And it really ended up being the cherry on top. So I'm really glad that we added it.
Oh, are you allowed to share any part of it, or they have to go see it to
They have
find
to
it?
go see it.
I love it. Where can people go learn about the film, all the different avenues that you're doing to empower and change what's happening in the world?
Yeah, well, first of all, our website, my website is sheangelinvestors.com. So lots of information there. And of course, you can follow our weekly podcast because it's filled with great free resources and information. And that's called Invest in Her. The movie is showherthemoneymovie.com. You can sign up there, and that way you'll keep in touch with all of our updates. If you want to screen the film in your area, there's a sign up there for it. Like I said, we have a resources page as well. So really, there's a lot of information on that site. If you want to know our schedule of where we're going to be in a town near you, of course, that's on the website.
Very cool. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for taking the time to share your story with us. I'm going to, when we get off, send you about 12 different people that should be on your podcast because this is a space we spend a lot of time thinking about as well. And just thank you for everything you're doing to spark change in the world.
Thank you, Fred. Right back at you. Have a beautiful day. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in.